Tucked away behind the bustling thoroughfares and noisy cafes of Carlton and Melbourne is a theatre so small that the front row is virtually centre stage. In fact, there is no stage as such, nor permanent rows of seats. But this tiny theatre boasts an esteem and tradition unparalleled in Australian drama history. Betty Birstall founded La Mama 23 years ago. Several years living frugally in New York and spending time in cafe theatres off Broadway convinced her that Melbourne could support a theatre where a 50-cent ticket might get you the first David Williamson play and coffee and wine, where actors shared box office takings while directors and writers survived on satisfaction alone, and where no artistic holds were barred. The list of performers, playwrights and directors who have gone on to bigger things and much bigger theatres is history, but La Mama is not. The theatre is alive and well and living in Carlton 23 years later. The show goes on.
H.
The Melbourne theatre scene is alive and well, there's no two questions about that. But apart from the major productions at the top billing venues, there are a few more offbeat theatres, the places where some of the big names actually started out. So for an experience you'll never forget, well, let's take a peek. This theatre is known as La Mama. It was established 30-odd years ago, modelled on its namesake in Greenwich, New York.
There's a little verse I remember as a child. Needles and pens.
The idea with La Mama was to create a cosy atmosphere where the audience and the actor could almost interact, with the seats literally on the edge of the stage. Actor Caroline Lee says it's the perfect place to see what the audience really thinks of your show.
When you're playing with other people, they can sense something that's going on and they'll respond to it. And I think for me, that's the essence of what theatre really is about.
The woman behind the scenes at La Mama is Liz Jones. She says the venue gives budding young directors and actors a unique opportunity.
It certainly does, because it gives them a chance to come really without any financial backing to work in a very supportive environment where they can test their ideas, test their talent in very close proximity with a very communicative audience.
La Mama's played host to many familiar names, including TV's Jana Wendt and Oscar nominee Cate Blanchett. Another of the household names to make their debut at La Mama is Judith Lucy. It was here that Judith made her transition from stand-up comedy to acting.
I was literally on stage for about the first 10 minutes, and then I realised that there was no one else on the bill. That if I was a turkey, it's not like they could, oh, well, never mind, Greg Fleet will be on after her. And I just suddenly started, like my whole body just started trembling.
La Mama is in the inner city suburb of Carlton. Shows cost $13 and concessions are also available.
Liz, La Mama is really an institution in Melbourne. Why is that?
I guess it's been very central to theatrical life in Melbourne since it was opened in 1967 by Betty Birstall, because it has provided a home for grassroots theatrical creativity.
I bet when they cut me open they find I'm all rusty inside. Bright.
Artists, actors, directors, writers can do the work that they want to do here without having to raise any capital themselves. The basic principle has been, since its inception, that the actors get the door. You have to have a venue to allow your work to be seen. You can write it in a garret, all right, but you then have to actually produce it somewhere. And where you produce it has to be accessible to an audience. I guess the two main things, or the three main things that La Mama's provided, it's always provided a welcoming environment, a supportive environment, and assistance with publicity.
Yes, well, I suppose one of the things that audiences have to bring to La Mama is a very open mind about what theatre is. You know, because they come through this sort of battered wooden gate and usually sort of join the queue on the wooden stairs outside. And for many of them, they don't know what they're going to step into. I remember one chap one night walking in, looking and saying, "This is not a theatre." There they walk into this space which is like a large living room. Fire burning, coffee percolating, and there are the seats. 30 seats, 40 seats. Many people walk in and say, "Where's the theatre?" Our audience numbers, the number coming through the space, has doubled, say, in the last 6 years. There is definitely, support coming in from the community of theatre-goers who like coming to theatre in small places like this.
Real.
You've done Quiddy a few times. Twice. Well, that's enough. Didn't those Catholic dickheads teach you nothing at school? You spread your legs, you lay the eggs, darling.
There will be, I guess, a period in which they have to try and build up that new following, interested in that tougher, more exploratory, more stimulating theatre.
Is that Lindsay Smith?
That's Lindsay Smith. That's Lindy Davies.
And is this a protest?
It's a protest, yes. It's all the stuff that they did in that period, the moratorium period, and the period when there was Norman and Ahmed, which caused various people, Graham Blundell,
to be arrested.
And when they did, what about realism? Where in fact 19 actors got arrested from the car in the car park at La Mama for simply chanting four-letter words that now just pepper all our dramatic works.
Oh my god, it's so exciting. It's our winter launch and it's the first time we're using this, our new bar, and it's just going to be awesome.
What's special about performing at La Mama for me, there's just this really nice generosity the second you walk into the theatre. Everybody there is excited by your art and excited by art in general, and you can kind of like feel that still in the theatre, and it's such a privilege to be in a really unique space. Like all the nooks and crannies lend themselves to different kind of aspects of different types of theatre so well that you don't really need to do much because the theatre is like almost like this beautiful set itself, and it's just such a privilege being in a place that is just so generous.
Known as La Mama, it was established 30-odd years ago, modelled on its namesake in Greenwich, New York. The idea with La Mama was to create a cosy atmosphere where the audience and the actor could almost interact, with the seats literally on the edge of the stage.
1994, the web. The guard. 1973. Hold the pickle. 2008. The tall man. 2011. Clean as you go. 2002.
The woman behind the scenes at La Mama is Liz Jones. She says the venue gives budding young directors and actors a unique opportunity.